parts of that story were false. What James didn't mention is that in that 3 months that I was here, I almost died a couple times because of the way that I used to live. And when I left here, I went back home and almost died a few more times. And then almost dying, stopped working. And then I made a couple of decisions so that I could start living. And yeah, so on that note, it's been a very long time since someone could say that I burned down a bridge. And I've been building bridges. And that's been a really good thing. And somewhere along the line, I started building this passion for creating art that was given to me. You know, it was just like something I wasn't planning on doing. For those of you who don't know, I'm a poet, and so I spent, you know, my life writing poems. I spent my college years performing poetry with a group, and then I spent a good amount of my adult years unraveling. But December 2011, one of my really good friends is a curator, and he said, you know, I want you to paint one of those poems of yours on a canvas and be a part of this group show. And so I did that. And you know, it was the first time I'd ever put a brush to a canvas. It was the first time I'd ever bought art supplies. It just wasn't, I think maybe I can vaguely remember. My godson's a painter, and he's just an amazing young man. I used his art supplies to paint like a denim jacket for Halloween, so I could go out and, you know, get trash and dress up like I was a rocker or something like that. But other than that, I never bothered with paint. It just wasn't my thing. Writing, you know, words were always the thing that kind of pushed me forward in life. And so I paint this poem on a canvas, and just it said, "Men grew afraid to sleep. Nightmares had feet that kicked like babies in the womb of malnourished belief." And so I painted that, and then I painted a silhouette of a pregnant woman. And the show was called White Christmas, so everything had to be in all white. And, you know, there's some rebel in me, so I put 2 little feet that were red, like 2 bloody feet, and I whited out some of the poem. And we had this show, and it was a great turnout. You know, my friends, like today, first of all, I just want to thank each and every single one of you for coming. That means more to me than any aspect of my career. It's just like you gave me your time and your love, and I appreciate that. And I love you all for being here.
I love you so much.
So I paint this poem. I'm in this show. I never got the painting back. You know, it's like I always tell this part of the story. One, because it's going to be interesting to see where God takes my career and when that painting miraculously might show up. And then I'm going to burn another bridge. We got one more bridge to burn. No, so, you know, I didn't get the painting back. And the reason I tell the story is because it bothered me. But I wasn't attached to the work in the way that I am today. You know, if I didn't get a painting back after a show, it'd be like all hell and lawyers and all that. But I just was upset. But I wasn't a painter. And so, you know, I never thought about painting again. And then a month later, December 20th, 2011, I got a phone call from my ex-girlfriend, and she told me her grandmother passed away. And like, I love this woman so much, you know, that it just, you know, my heart was broken in a moment. And I had this instinct to get up from where I was sitting and go back down to the art supply store and buy these art supplies. And so I walk into Blick, and they had this incredible sale. It's like buy 10 canvases and get 10% off. Buy whatever and get this. And if you buy 20, it's 70% off the whole thing. And so, you know, I was a businessman. I was like, I'm just gonna get 20 canvases, go back to the house, and heal. You know, it was like, how can I get through this moment? And, you know, in that instance, then I switched my language. You know, it's like from poetry to this visual language that I would jump out there with. And what I did was to explain how I taught myself how to paint. I've been working at this job, and one day I went and took the top off of the copy machine, and it has all the buttons and the circles and the squares, and I put it on my desk, and I made this little character out of 2 circles and an oval. And I would do that every day. It's like, I'm surprised I didn't lose that job because I never was working. I was like just doing this little thing. And the first real exhibition I ever had was probably in my cubicle. So I had a whole office to myself at the time because 2 people I was in the office with, they left. And I noticed I wasn't doing any work, so I asked them to move me out into the population. I'm like, I gotta get it before I get fired. So I had all my work on the cubicles and all that. And so on that day, December 20th, when I came home, I'm making these works, and I'm just, the first thing I think is like stencil the character onto the canvas and do that. And eventually I've done those, and I got tired of doing that thing over and over. And I had this desire to freehand paint the character. And so I went and I just freehand painted the character. And from that, I taught myself how to do abstract self-portraiture, you could say. It was because I was tired of just doing the same thing, and I wanted a new experience, and so I went for it. And then in the meantime, I was like painting with a lot of energy. So like I have all these splatter paintings, and you know, I go into the bathroom and splatter paint and paint all over the place. One other thing I left out quickly is that my grandmother has Alzheimer's dementia mixed, and she had to go live with my mom. Currently, my home is my workspace, so my studio is in the apartment where my grandmother raised the whole family. And so she wasn't living in there with me, and I would stay in the back room by myself. But when I came home that day, I moved into the living room and I started painting there. And then from there, you know, I was able to actually own the space that I was occupying. And so yeah, so now, just to move forward a little bit, now I'm freehand painting, I'm splatter painting. I talked with a friend of mine, and you know, they're like, you know, once you paint bigger, you'll like never go back, you want to paint big. And so it's like, well, now I'm like painting on the walls in my apartment, and the whole place is like this work of art. And somewhere along the line, someone comes to my house and they ask me, you know, can I get this? And they buy a painting from me, and maybe that happens over time. And you know, April, 3 years ago, maybe I'm pretty good into bookkeeping, so I realized like, okay, art just paid all the bills. Let me make a record of it. And then, you know, the next month and the next month, and you know, now 3 years later, you know, God has really blessed me with like a great art career. And just to bring this exhibition full circle, like James said, 7 years ago I was here, I was really destructive, I was killing myself, I was killing the relationships with the people around me. Most of them were in this room now, I'm just very grateful that like my friends held me down when I couldn't hold myself up. And so I went back home. Next thing you know, I have this career that's allowed me to start traveling the world and exhibit. It really just allows me to like to be free. So I get here, and I wake up, you know, my girlfriend was visiting with me, we've been together she lives in another country. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, you know what would be a good idea? If I make artwork, you can have an exhibition. And you know, when James woke up, I ran it by him and he said, sure, this is a great idea. And then I was thinking about what could the name of the show be. I went, there's an art supply store like right up the street. I was like, this is perfect. You know, it's like, here I am in a space that I was like really breaking down, and now I can build things here. You know, I can build. And so I just went to work, and you know, it was great. I bought 8 of these paintings with me on the wall from back home, and I just, you know, made a decision to have an exhibition that kind of bought these out in full. You know, so half of them are abstract self-portraiture. The other half is this series I call Electric Wind, which, to give you some background quickly, is there an homage to Jackson Pollock and Ralph Lauren. Jackson Pollock in the sense of like the pouring technique that I used to create the, you know, what you could call the language that's in here. And then Ralph Lauren, back in the day, you know, there was a certain point in my life where all I wore was polo. And if you recorded this, I'll just say I was doing polo more than like a lot of people you hear talking about it on the public level. I ain't gonna say no names. But anyway, Ralph Lauren back in the 90s, he had this one sweater that was like famed. If you had this sweater, you were the man. You could get this sweater, and it was called a P-wing. So it was like a cream sweater with a blue P and a red track wing foot. And like that was the sweater. You had that sweater, you were like way up. Even today, you can get your hands on it. It's expensive. You might as well buy some art. So if you can get that sweater, you can holler at me. So there was that sweater, but then they had another sweater, and we called it the invisible P, and it was cream on cream. So there's the cream sweater with a P-wing patch. So from far away, you might think there's nothing on the sweater, but from up close, it's like, boom, this is the P-wing sweater. So while I'm making these works, it's like, originally the idea is like, I want to make these Pollock kind of works, but they're going to be like mine. I'm going to be Blacks and Pollock. And, you know. So I had, it's process of elimination. So there's a color, and then I'm doing this technique in another color. And I thought, and it takes a while for these to dry, so I decided when I got back home, the finished product, I just didn't like it. You know, it's like I wasn't feeling it. And I thank God that I didn't throw it out. What I did was I painted it over in black. So I paint this in all black, and then it turns into what I thought was the most beautiful thing I had made at the time. You know, it was like all black with this language. And so once I realized that from far away, it didn't look like anything, but from up close, it looked like something. I was like, oh, this is like the P-wing sweater. And that informed what I would do with the language. So in the beginning, it went from just being like circular motions to I wanted to put more love into my work, so I wrote love. I just wrote the word love in there. And then I started to put phrases in it. And then by that time, I was already making a lot of abstract self-portraits. And so I wanted to put abstract self-portraiture in here. I wanted to collaborate with myself, so to speak. And so you'll notice in some of them, here's an eye, nose, a mouth. There's the word trust. There's this one's trust, this one's faith, and this one's grace. And there just came a point in making this show where I got afraid. It's like, I've already put it out there, I've talked about it, now I'm stuck here making some stuff. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. And I just wanted to remind myself that God always has me. My story is really like the story of like God's just amazingness to bring like a dead person back to life, and then also give me an opportunity to like share my innermost thoughts with other people in a visual way. It's like on that day, December 20th, the person that I was would have just written a poem. I would have wrote a poem about this experience that I was having, but I went and I changed the language, and it's been great. It's been a really great, I'm still learning how to paint all the time. I just happen to get to do it out in the open because that's how God's planned it. And 7 years. The show is called 7 years because this work took me 7 years to make. 7 long, great years. And all the years before are packed in there too. I had to stop doing one thing that was holding me back from being the person that like you see before you. Because if you would have met me before, you might have loved me for a while. It take like you had to be tough as nails in order to stick around. So like my friends who are here, they're all just tough as nails. And the most loving people of all time. And get you. So thanks for coming. I love you all.